My friends live.
That is live.
Oh shit, we're live?
Oh.
I feel like
Is that how we open up?
We're always like,
Yeah.
You open up with a oh
fuck, it's time to go on.
language.
Oh.
Fucking sorry.
Hoopy, it's time to go on. Duty.
We should do it like remember when Snakes on a Plane came out for like TBS and they were like completely changing everything that they said on it?
Awful.
They had to.
Yeah.
Take these mother trucking snakes. Office. I forget what it was. It was freaking insane though.
Look in there real quick and see if there is a bottle opener.
Dun dun dun.
Right.
We didn't come prepared.
Oh, wait a minute though. I got you.
Is it a twist off?
It is!
Twist off.
Whoa, that seems unsafe.
Twist off. And the head did not explode. So
Well,
we're in business.
we have made a good thing happen there. What's up, guys? 3 Crafty Bastards. I'm B. Smith, and of course, to my left,
El Senor Classico.
El Senor Classico. I like what you did there. And then over to my right,
Now I feel underwhelmed. I'm the Newg. What's up, guys?
and of course, B. Smith here, and we're here to bring you a beer review. We got something a little different tonight. Corey knows a guy that
knows a guy.
who knows a guy who knows a guy
Knows a guy.
that brewed some local brews. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a test run. As you can see, we got our unlicensed 3 Crafty Bastards glasses here, which are not 3 Crafty Bastards at all. I feel like we
We
should
need to
have
get
those.
onto that.
I'm telling you, like, if we could put the logo on a glass and then have 3 Crafty Bastards and have the same stein that we drink out of every week, why are we not doing that?
See, this is why a lot of people like say this out loud and they go, "I shouldn't have said that," because then someone's gonna trademark it, and now we have to buy the shit. And then, God damn it,
I'm not buying it. If somebody,
I saw that too. Wish you could turn the camera.
She is on point with that.
Oh my god.
Hey,
Since you guys can't
Naomi,
see it,
Naomi, you're the real MVP.
Yeah, that is, you get a huge shout out right there, man. Thank
slide
you
it.
so much. Fucking throw the opener under the door. Man, we're already starting off live. But okay, so back to basics. We got a beer here that we're gonna review tonight. Locally made, not on the market, homebrew. If you know anything about 3 Crafty Bastards, myself, along with, we actually brewed one together. We love the homebrew. We're interested in what we can do to make our own homebrews. So this is nice to be able to try someone else's. I think we've reviewed one other homebrew outside of our own.
That was cool meeting the guy.
Yeah, he's super cool, right?
Yeah.
He knows a lot about beer. Anytime I'm having an issue, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
So, Corey, you want to tell us about this brew?
Sure. This is from one of my buddies. His name's Sean. He owns a company that I will not say, but he's been working with multiple people with brewing beer, big, small, whatever, and he decided to make his own homebrew. And he posted it on Facebook probably about close to about a week ago, and it was just like instantaneous. My response was like, "Do you have a 6-pack in bottles that I can buy?" And he was just like, I guess I have it bottled, so why? And I'm like, well, we are the 3 Crafty Bastards, and I would love to try this on our show.
Hello.
Because it's very rare that someone just comes up and just goes, "Hey, I got beer that you've never tried before."
Yeah, right.
All right, and we can guarantee this motherfucker's never tried it.
I've
So
never had it. I've never had it. There's no secret.
Yes.
There's no, take my first sip and...
this is where you actually have a sip and you go,
Joke's on
"I've had
you.
this before." But I'm pulling up his notes here, and the details that he has on this, there is no label. There is no anything. This is not Gumball Head. If you are looking at it from the side, that's just the carrying case. It is an American Pale Ale. It was brewed with Magnum and Cascade hops, which you know more about that than
Cascade
I would.
is a good choice of hops, man. It's California hops.
I didn't even know that there was a Magnum hops.
I didn't know there was Magnum hops either. And
They
like,
should have put a PI.
I'm just gonna... Nice. Little hops with a mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, like, hops are something that I'm just now kind of starting to like really get into, like the different scents and the different flavors. So
Yeah, and he said he did it in a 5-gallon batch. So there's not much of this left. So props to him for actually making a 6-pack
Yeah,
because
right.
I know that's probably a lot of that stash. But he said he brewed it with a pound of not just regular honey, pure honey.
Yeah.
So this is local honey. So this is gonna taste a lot different than like the
Fermentable
pasteurized.
sugars, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
He said he then after it was done fermenting, I guess is the right word for it. He dry hopped it with 2 ounces of mosaic hops,
Which is also a very good hop.
with the ABV ending up at 7.08%, very specific.
Mm-hmm.
But the IBUs are around 56%. No, sorry, around 56 for the IBUs, which is going to have this guy over here groaning.
Maybe a little bit.
Well, he might try, like he said before, I think the honey.
I'm hoping that the honey doles it out or sweetens it.
A pound of honey.
Yeah, I'm hoping. So we're gonna find out.
Touch them on your fingers.
Yeah,
Well,
that's not a good look, Brandon.
The thing is sticky, so I
Oh, is
just
it?
wanted to know.
That's not the honey, bro.
I just wanted to know, like, nope. It's
Why are
not.
my fingers sticky?
Yeah.
And lastly, he called this brew, Honey, Are You Hoppy? So,
Yep.
without further ado,
It smells hoppy.
Yeah, it does.
that gunk sound.
Good color.
It does have a nice, rich, kind of honeyish color to it.
Yep.
Note head explosion, which is awesome. And he actually warned me about this earlier when we were talking. He had a very big fear of the carbonation in it, because it's been sitting in my fridge for about 3 days, and he had it basically on ice for like the last week for me. But lo and behold, you probably can't see from here. I know you can probably see it from here.
Yeah, it's got a good color.
That's
to
a
it.
very good color.
Very good color, and it is very carbonated. So, Sean, if you are watching, congratulations. It
Very
is
good
very
color.
carbonated. So,
I feel like I got the best carbonation out of all of us.
of course,
I just think you don't know how to pour.
No, I feel like I feel like I certainly know how to pour, and that's why I got the best carbonation.
No.
but it looks straight like honey to me.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah,
great.
let's do it, man.
All
Cheers.
right. Cheers.
Man, the hush comes over the crowd. Okay, guys, what do we think?
Yeah, I give it more of like a casual beer. There's no, I don't taste the honey.
No.
I don't either.
I feel like the honey kind of smooths the hops
Yeah.
out.
It's
we-
softened,
as
it's
we were
softened the
gonna-
blow.
Yeah, we were gonna expect that when you brew with 2 different kinds of hops, like he did. Those hops go into the boil. Everything boils out, and then eventually you filter it out. When you dry hop, you put the hops. Do you know if you use fresh hops or hop pellets?
I can find out. I mean, we are live, but I can find out
I mean,
for you.
Because it
I've
makes a
never
difference.
used fresh hops in brewing. I've always used hop pellets because that was easily accessible to me. If I could use fresh hops, I would most certainly do that, as opposed to the other way. So, two different sets of hops or 2 different types of hops go into the original brew. Those go into the boil, and then it ferments for a week or 2 weeks or however long you decide to let it sit.
You use pellets.
Very nice. So pellets. And then when you dry hop it, you essentially add the hops and you just add them to your brew. You put the cap back on and you let them disintegrate. And then, well, you kind of stir it up a little bit, but you let it disintegrate, and then you filter that out at the end before you get ready to bottle. So I feel like with the Mosaic and with the Cascade hops, that this would be way more hoppy had it not had the honey added. I know that for certain. And if you give it one more taste, let me put this in your mind. Look for like the subtle honey taste at the very beginning, but with the 3 different hops, it finishes very hoppy at the end.
Yes.
Yeah. Already had that, and I totally agree 1,000%.
So it's got a real smooth start.
Yep.
And then if you're into IPAs, you'll love the finish.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you're not into IPAs, you're gonna be like,
beginning.
where's that start at?
Yeah.
You know.
And I agree. It's probably what I thought it was going to be. So that's why I didn't have the type of response.
Right.
Even though it's not my wheelhouse, for lack of a better term, but I can tell
that's
that
your term. That's coined. That is a coined phrase
It's
for
Mr.
Mr.
Classics wheelhouse.
if I was an IPA, APA drinker, this is probably pretty good. I would imagine, because I know that you guys like it, but I was waiting on your response. But
I know you like it, but I'll wait on your
way,
response.
I'm sure you guys do. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I can taste that it's good, but it's not for my palate. So I can taste what he's trying to do with it. I would say that he should bottle that and maybe try to sell it.
Yeah. Do you think? Let me ask this question. Do you think he was trying to achieve a hop slam, or what's the one that Summit does? What is Summit's?
Summit Top Slam.
They have like a hop slam type beer that's brewed in honey. It's an IPA. Because honestly, when I drink this, like I feel like this is more hoppy than Hop Slam. That Hop Slam has more of a honey flavor and a smoother finish, rather than being, honey being the prominent forefront taste and then finishing with hops in your face.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Are the Hop Slam and the other one you talking about from Summit, are they higher in?
Hop Slam is about 10%.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they're a little more potent.
And Hop Slam's IBUs are higher, but obviously they brew it in larger batches,
right?
Which means they use more honey, so they try to counteract those hops to try to make it a smoother beer. Summit, which I can't believe that I can't remember the name of this because I bought some, but Summit essentially tried to do the same thing but locally, because Hop Slam is so hard to get. They kind of offered an alternative. Well, it's hard to get down here.
It wasn't this one, was
it? No, that's not it.
That's a good idea.
It had hop in the name. It was something like Hop Slam or anyway, we'll find it. None of those are it. Any Scotch strawberry?
Yes, the hops.
Fuck is that? That's not it.
That's for next week.
Yeah. looks like we're reviewing Summit beer next week. No.
There it is.
Maybe.
That's triple.
But
10.3.
Damn.
Man, maybe. I don't know.
We're not going to release that
Anyway.
information if we don't know it.
No. So, yeah, let's review this. Let's give it the review. What we started to do last week was, obviously we have to keep tradition going, and we do the Gladiator, and then let's review it. A 5-star review.
Okay. Well,
okay.
With my thoughts on it, because you guys gave your guys' thoughts, right?
Yeah, it's your friend, so that doesn't matter. You automatically love it. You have to.
What I want to add with this is I actually thought it was
I'm joking, by the way.
Yeah, I know. The first sip that I actually had of this, it's very, very hard because he does work in the restaurant business.
Right.
I have noticed this. If you try any IPAs or something like that, more of like the higher IBUs, whenever you're trying to eat and drink a beer at the same time, it's really hard to find a good beer that will combo with a lot of stuff. I think this would be a very good beer to eat alongside.
With what?
Because
typically
with this one, I'd probably go wings with this.
What about steak, chicken, or fish?
That is the easy. That's the easy. Any beer goes with wings.
That's an easy one to combo with. But I'm saying, with my personal palate, I'd usually go I would go boneless wings because I don't think that this would take away from the flavor of the wings. Because a lot of the IPAs that I have, I'm like, it's wings, then it's overpowering IPA, and my palate's got IPA all over it. and then we'll try a wing again. But I think this will work better with with more like poultry. So like your chickens
That's what I was gonna say.
or things like that.
See, I personally feel like you could serve me a beer that I was not too fond of with wings, and it would be okay as long as it was beer and wings.
Right.
Like they pair. They automatically pair. If I was going to pair this with an actual food, like an actual dinner, I would have to say that I would pair it with either steak or pork, not chicken.
I'm with him on chicken.
It's too bitter with chicken.
Because here's what I'm thinking is, I guess, like I said, it's not for my palate, but if I was going to try to counteract it, it's for some reason, the reason
I see why you use steak.
I'm thinking of
Yeah.
like a bruschetta. Like you have a cheese, the oregano, the tomatoes.
With this?
Yeah.
So you do it with like a pasta.
Well, I'm saying bruschetta is not a pasta, but I'm saying
Yes.
it's possible.
Yes.
I would never drink beer with a pasta because
No.
that's too much.
Too heavy.
I'd feel like a, anyway, I couldn't do that, but I'm saying,
Violet, you're turning violet.
but I'm saying with something light, like an appetizer type, I could see bruschetta with that, with the flavoring.
Yeah.
Like you can put a little chicken across the bruschetta, but not just more of the
Right.
bruschetta with all the
And-
seasonings and the tomatoes.
With him working in restaurants, I think that is a very, very good combo to actually have with it.
Honestly,
I wonder if that was actually in his mindset with making this beer, is to have something, because I'm assuming that he'd want to serve this
Mhm.
at his restaurant. So I wonder if that was part of his thought process.
I feel like this is because I don't do IPAs or the pale ales very often. I just feel like this is something that's kind of uppity, and I think that a typical uppity appetizer might be bruschetta.
right.
That's why I could for some reason mentally I can pair it
Well, I'm uppity because I like bruschetta.
because bruschetta is delicious, right?
It's just bread with seasonings.
Yeah, but when you put all the tomatoes and the other stuff on it, I mean it's on point. I
It's,
can definitely
it's,
see.
it's one side of a sandwich toasted.
All right, we need to start having we're gonna have to start starting a cooking podcast.
Right.
In a minute.
Okay, so to keep things rolling, in true gladiator fashion, as Three Crafty Bastards always does. 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Yeah, very nice.
Three
Yeah,
thumbs up.
certainly.
I
Certainly
like I said, I
thumbs
think for what it is, I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, having brewed beer, I feel like I always have to support local brews, local breweries, so on and so forth. I think this is actually a really good brew. If there was anything that I would change about it, I probably would have doubled the honey.
That's about it.
That's it. I mean, doubling
Can
the
you,
honey
can you
would have...
imagine this like actually, like you said, doubling the honey on it, like a honey brew that actually had like extreme honey at the beginning and then had that finish.
Well,
Yeah,
not I think I think the finish is what we're trying to get away from. Like the honey at the very beginning is very subtle but very short. The hops immediately take over, and then that's the lingering taste in your mouth. I think essentially what you were looking for is something that is smooth all the way through, because when you think honey, you think smooth.
Yeah.
So if you were to possibly double the honey and add 2 pounds instead of 1, I think not only would you get more of a honey flavor that might follow the drink all the way through from start to finish, but I think also honey means fermentable sugars, natural fermentable sugars. So that would drive that percentage from 7 to possibly 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
You know, that's a win-win right there.
Yeah.
And what if you put in like a fruit, like a melon?
He was actually, I remember talking to him, and he said that he was actually trying to get a lower base one because this was his first one that he's done. And he said he was trying to go for about 4 to 5. And it ended up being 7.
Yeah, 4 to 5 is average. When you do something like add fruit, like I know we have to wrap this up, but real quick.
No, you're
When we did First Dance, we used natural, like real blackberries, right? And the first time that we tasted it, it was like, yeah, it was kind of subtle at the end, and I didn't really get it. But then we let it age for 3 or 4 months, and
it had a completely different flavor.
it had a completely different flavor. It had settled, it had cured, it had matured,
Yeah.
right?
And I swear to God, if you don't sell cherry
Oh,
blossom,
super awesome cherry blossom.
yeah, I will smack him back the head. Dude. That was amazing.
Super awesome cherry blossom was great as
That is
well.
at the
man.
top of my list, like one of the top of my list for like best beers I've had.
So, I don't know how long it's cured. I don't know how long it fermented or it sat. I know me personally, I was like itching to get this beer done and get it out, and I was patiently waiting for that 4th and 5th and 6th week to get it rolling. What I would say is maybe as this beer cures a little bit and as it sits a little bit, it might taste a little different in the future. But if I could have done anything different with any of my brews, with the exception of Super Awesome Cherry Blossom, because that was a whiskey barrel aged beer, First Dance, if I would have added honey to that thing would still be fermenting, you know, from the beginning, because natural fruits, natural honey, fermentable sugar, that it just continues to work.
Yeah.
As a question from somebody who's never brewed beer before, do you think that it would be better to brew the beer like he did, wait for it to age a little bit, and then add the extra pound of honey? Or do the 2 pounds of honey at the beginning and then let it age?
No, you know what I would do if it were me? I would add honey in the beginning, like during your boil, let's say. And it sounds, as a person that experiments with different methods of brewing beer, I would have added a pound of honey in the beginning. I would have let it ferment for probably 2 to 3 weeks. And then when I went to dry hop it, I would have added an additional pound of honey, and maybe kind of like tried to stir it in and mix it in to thin things out a little bit, and then let it sit for an additional 2 weeks, and then seeing what the texture would have been like. If the texture was really thick, then I probably would have put it in a pot and maybe boiled it for a second before I bottled it. But if the texture was kind of like this is, I would have bottled it immediately, knowing that alcohol percentage would have been driven up.
Why have you not opened up your own brewery yet?
Because it's all experimentation. That's the beauty. That is the beauty. And you know what? I can really appreciate this. I have to say that. I can really appreciate this. I really appreciate drinking other people's home brews, because it really is just a matter of creativity in the moment. When I made my first brew, I had a kit, and I was like, this ain't good enough. What can we do to make this better? You know?
Yeah.
So what we did is we went out and we actually bought 3 pounds of raspberries, and we bought 3 pounds of blackberries. We decided to opt out on the raspberry because everybody does raspberry beer. We decided to do blackberry because it was different. And we expected a different taste than what we got in the beginning, but once I had it 3 months later and it had an opportunity to sit, it was a completely different beer, and I was more than impressed with myself. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Like 3 months later, I was like, "Wow, man, you really did it!" Like, put one back in the fridge, you know, so you can have it at a later date. The same thing with Super Awesome Cherry Blossom. Like, I was very patient with Super Awesome Cherry Blossom, but I anticipated bottling that because I just knew in my heart it was going to be a great beer. And it's just inventive. The whiskey came from Japan. We added cherry puree and cherry flavoring to try to achieve a prominent cherry flavor while still holding that whiskey barrel aged kind of flavor at the end of that. And at the end, man, it's just experimentation. The banana beer could have turned out better. It didn't turn out great. It was drinkable, but it could have been better.
Yeah.
And it should have been a different type of ale, and I can admit that. That's the beauty of homebrew.
It's a learning process.
It is a learning process, and it's experimentation. Every single time that you throw your ingredients into that pot to boil, it's experimentation.
Yeah.
How can we make this better? And that's how local companies like Mad Anthony, Summit City, Two Toms, Junk Ditch, Trouble, that's how they all got to where they are, is by doing that experiment. So as a local brew, I appreciate this. I think this is great.
Awesome.
But now let's rate it. 5 stars. Mr. Classic.
Out of appreciation, I think I'm going to give it I'm 3.75. I want to give it a 3.5. I want to give it a 4. I'll go in between because I can appreciate what it is. Again, it's not for my palate, but I appreciate what it is. That's why it's as high as it is. Because normally, for me, that'd been like a freaking 1.
Right.
Because I don't like them, but to appreciate what it is and what the process was and what he went through. I mean, I think it's good for people who like pale ales.
Yeah.
My turn.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it maybe like a 4.1.
Okay.
I mean, it is very good for my palate, because I mean it matches well with what I want to find in a beer. But I mean, same thing as you said, the appreciation that goes behind it, the way that he was able to access all this, much appreciation. I'm giving it a 4.1.
Very nice. I'm gonna give it a 4. 4 out of 5 stars. I can appreciate the honey flavor at the beginning. I can appreciate the hop finish because I do enjoy IPAs and APAs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is this guy's first batch.
First one.
Dude, if you're watching, let it age. If you have any leftover, whenever we brew, I take a 6-pack and I stick it in the basement and I let it age for an additional few months. And it will be a completely different beer the next time that you taste it.
If I get a hold of him in time, or if you actually see this, Sean, if we get that, I want to see if we can do an aged version.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
But my advice, just as a novice beer brewer, as a beginner, because I've only brewed 3 different batches. I got another one going that I'm kind of experimenting with. Let it age, because if you let it age, you're gonna get a completely different flavor out of it 3 months from now. But for being local, for being a homebrew, and from, I guess, brewer to brewer?
From homebrew
To homebrew. 4 stars, by all means, man. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
letting us try your beer. Don't forget about these guys over here, man. YouTube. Well, now we gotta take another one.
Oh.
Hey, YouTube. What's up?
Every time we take a drink, you gotta take a drink. That's how it works.
That should be a game. Play the 3 Crafty Bastards game. All right, guys. Anybody else that got anything to add? No?
Nope.
All right. In the center, B. Smith. To my left.
Mr. Classic.
To my right.
The Newg.
We're 3 Crafty Bastards, man. We're out of here.